Yeah, well, it's called daily incremental improvement. So that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
great. Morning, Taylor. Lee, do you want to take it away?
Can I say something quickly?
You can.
I saw last night that from tomorrow, when you just put in the Zoom ID and not go onto the link, you'll have to do a password, and the host will have to admit people. There's a waiting room, and the host will have to admit people into the waiting room. That will happen from the 5th. That's to improve security on Zoom meetings. I got it at 12 o'clock last night, so I don't know. Maybe we should experiment before Monday morning or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where will you get the password. I don't know. I didn't actually see where one will get the password. Anyway, that's just my bit before we start.
Yeah, Cecile, there's quite a lot of things you can do to improve the security of your call if you're concerned about it. Setting a password is one of them, and that's under the control of the host. So I don't think it's going to be forced, but it's certainly something I can configure if we feel it's necessary. So
no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. But I got the mail that says automatically from tomorrow. This is what will happen.
I'll double check that. I certainly haven't received that mail, but I was looking at security. There are people who've been posting some concerns about the security of meetings, and I did post a link to a video on the WhatsApp chat group a day or so ago for people who were interested, but I certainly haven't seen anything about them changing the default settings. But as I say, the way I understand it at this stage, the host who's arranging the meeting can set those settings himself or herself and control the meeting. And then if I do set a password, I'll email that link and those details to everybody. So it's just a question of clicking the link as we've always been doing, and then it'll ask you for the password, which you'll just copy and paste from the email, and it'll go off. The waiting room concept is also always been there, but it's also configurable. So I don't think that's a major issue either. So the host can just say people can join the meeting before the host starts the meeting, or they can't. And if they can't, they go into a waiting room, and then you can admit them into the meeting. So if we are feeling we're getting people onto the call that we don't want, we can control it that way. So I'll let people know if it becomes an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan, one quick question. You were referring to a WhatsApp group. What WhatsApp group are you referring to?
The chamber members WhatsApp group, Herman.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lee, I think over to you.
Well, again, I'm going to share my screen, and it's just going to be the slide that I sent to you yesterday, and just had fun with this. Just thinking about the last week that we have been running with these Zoom meetings, and everybody who's on has been there pretty much from the beginning. So you will see that it reflects, you'll see some of your own words there. I see some of them in the slide have just fallen off a little bit. But yeah, so I think really just throwing the ball back in your court, that, just to do a reflection. And the purpose of the reflection came out of a couple of people raising, I think Guy and Stella particularly, saying, how do we make this practical? Yes, we're having these great conversations, but how are we actually ensuring that the thinking, the processing is translating into either a change in attitude or a change in behavior, or something is clicking that is moving us forward, that we feel that there is a process in place where we're implementing some of the ideas or learning that we're gaining just from these brief interactions. So that's the purpose of this. So it's the question that I'm asking is, what is a word or a couple of words that have stood out for you, and what are you doing about it, or what do you plan to do about it?
Great, thanks, Lee. Trevor, I see you champing at the bit to
Yep, because I saw this last night and I thought, you know what, there are two key words that I'd like to see added to this, and they are objective and purpose. What is my objective of getting on board here every day at 8 o'clock? And a stronger word is purpose. And that's what I continually think about every day. And then just getting on today, for instance, and seeing you with the background, I'm starting to answer my own question, and that we started this as a journey just to see what would happen and how much of a learning experience it would be. And it now turns out this is the highway to the future. And it's a super fast highway. So objective and purpose are very important for me to explore. And I'd love to hear what other people's objective and purpose is in getting on here every morning, 8 o'clock with consistency. Because if we can tap into that, then we might work out how to actually get 100,000 people on board or 1 million people on board. I'm looking at this grand scale of numbers from my perspective.
Great, thanks, Trev. Cecile, I see you gave Trev a thumbs up there, so maybe you'd like to comment on what he was saying?
Okay, sorry. Yes, I don't know about you, but maybe some of you have already used Zoom before, but I'm certainly also learning a lot about Zoom, and I'm teaching other people about Zoom. So it's exactly what Trevor was saying about learning first, and then I will have to teach. So that's just why I said, yeah, we're all learning. Probably some of you have learned it already, but that's what I'm learning this week anyway. Besides the things that we're talking about, that's the practical things that I'm learning about.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Herman?
I think in many ways the application is automatic, provided I'm really fully immerse myself into the conversation taking place between 8 and 8:30, and follow that up with a kind of a reflection. You won't believe it, but I was lying in bed at about 2 o'clock this morning with my digital recorder, which I always have next to me because sometimes good ideas come during the sleep. And I was reflecting on yesterday's session, particularly with regards to the conversation we had around help and listening. I want to make a brief remark about help. One thing we didn't really touch on, if we either offer help or are requested to help someone else, it's not so much the vested interest that needs to come in, but the listening with empathy and the willingness to walk in the other person's shoes. Otherwise, whatever help I'm going to materialize is not necessarily meeting the needs of the person who's asked for help. I've also done quite a bit of thinking and as I said, putting on my recorder about listening, but I'm going to put that on a piece of paper, mail it to Lee for sharing it with the rest of the group, if that's okay.
I muted myself. Thanks, Herman, for that. I think, yeah, an interesting point. And the having the recorder next to the bed, I think, is an excellent idea. And or just simply a piece of paper and a pen. But yeah, some great ideas and thoughts there. Ian, you're up next.
Yeah, I think my objective is, obviously we can't meet as we normally do on a Friday, so we're finding another way in which to communicate. And I think as opposed to the Friday meetings where I think Cecile said that she felt there was still people wanting to take and not necessarily give, and by virtue of this platform, we've actually reversed that whole situation and starting to have meaningful discussions that we wouldn't normally have on a Friday meeting when we meet at Eagle's Nest. So it's yeah, I think in every conversation, a little something comes up. You say, well, that's quite interesting. That's food for thought. And it's through that process we're doing what we have to do, and that's kind of reinventing our business, reinventing the way we do business, how we do business, and with whom we do business, and what platforms we now use. So that's really the objective that I have. Is we're now obviously isolated, but through this media, we're actually having a virtual meeting and discussion with people. And I think that's kind of maybe keeps some sanity, but also keeps us focused on the ultimate objective, is to move out the other side with a different perspective and a different way of doing things.
Thanks, Ian. Guy, you want to add your thoughts in on that?
Just quickly, to me, when I'm looking at Lee's slide, to me, I look at the word filter, and I've become a better filterer. I'm filtering certain information that's coming into my head. I'm taking some in and disregarding other for whatever reasons. And I see the slide, Lee, you put up, obviously from the main words that have come up so far in our chats over the past week. Purpose and objective, yeah, one can add those. I'm just filtering at the moment. Really, it's at these 8 o'clock sessions, I just want to be a better listener and listen. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Guy. Cello, you'd like to add your thoughts into that?
Yes, morning everybody. I see the words, and it's such a nice collage. A word that I would add on in vein with what Trevor was saying would be intention. And I wanted to just set some intentions for myself. I mean, I was doing a bit of work, just like Herman is saying, where you reflect on the words that we were saying and you see what comes up again. And, you know, intention kept on coming back to me, that if we are really serious about making things a little bit more practical, can I set a different intention for myself and say to the group, I am here to extend the voice of the group. I am actually in Durban, but I was originally in Johannesburg. And I said this even to Jasper when I was leaving Joburg. I said, I want to be a channel for you guys to also have certain operations. We are talking practicals now in Durban. So you know you have a friendly on the ground if there's research that needs to be done, things like feasibilities, you know, for certain projects. So let me maybe start just from there. I know I'm taking up a bit of time because it's a very practical thing that I'm talking about, but I want to just introduce that idea to the group, because for me, it's about intention. In vein with what Herman was saying in terms of that help part, I also want us to look at when we overhelp, because that's what came for me a lot when I was dealing and treating the subject of help, where, you know, yes, somebody needs your help and you see that they need your help, but then you end up being over, just doing too much, just going, you know, because we do have that attention thing as well as people that works with our ego. So we need to discipline that. I think that's just what I wanted to share for now.
Great, thanks. Hello. Morning, Pierre. I see you came on a little bit late, so you've sort of missed the start of the conversation. But if you've just listened into the last couple of comments and had a look at the slide on the screen there, love to hear your thoughts on what you've heard and what you've seen. Pierre, are you with us? Can you hear me? Can you unmute your mic and then perhaps tell us if you know on the call and you're able to chat with us? Okay, it seems that Pierre is perhaps struggling a little bit. So Lee, I'll hand back to you, and maybe you wanted to pick up from there and just add your thoughts in.
Yeah, I think the flow from purpose, the processing through conversation, through igniting ideas, to a practical implementation. And for me, the practical implementation is in two things. It's in what is happening to me. So if I'm going to be engaging in these kinds of conversations where we are thinking through really, I mean, the kind of conversations we've been having, the discussions we've been having have really been about personal growth, community engagement. So it does mean that I have to look in the mirror. I have to see, what do I need to change? What do I need to adjust? Those daily incremental changes that Ivan was talking about has to happen in me, as well as in the activities that I'm doing, the skills that I'm learning, the new languages that I'm taking on board in order to achieve what I want to achieve. If I go, I'm trying to bring these things together to say, how do we achieve our goals? And, you know, Stello's talking about the very practical goal of how do we collaborate? How do we actually build a connection with each other in a business way? I think we need to decide how practical we get in terms of that type of collaboration in this platform, or whether this is something that we are investing in terms of just of sparking ideas and personal clarity and moving forward. So I think that's, I don't know if I'm making any sense, and if anybody wants to just sort of throw in something around what I've been saying.
Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, if I can share a screen, am I able to? Yeah, no, you cannot share a screen while the other participant is sharing. Do you want to shut down there quickly, Lee? Thank you. Let me just do this, and then I'll see if I can share the screen. Right, come to me. Seems to be taking a while. Share here. Do you have my screen up? So I don't see anything from my side. Do you have that? Can you see my browser window? You can't.
No blank.
Hmm?
It's a blank still.
Still blank. So what I've done is, so let me get out of that. All right, that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to learn the technology. But if you go on to the Four Ways Chamber Facebook site and you go to photos, what you'll see is that I've been bringing together composites of all the pics that we've been taking every day and of the 2 Friday meetings that we've had. And as Stella was talking there, for me, I want to see us having about 100 to 200 people in pixels on one pager. And that tells us that we're actually starting to grow in a big way. Okay, there you go. So thank you very much. So you'll see on those pics, if you pick that, if you click on that third from the right, which is the big composite, that one, yes. Okay, so that has about, so what I did there in that composite is I grabbed a couple of our blocks and I added them together. There are about 42 of us in that little pic, I think, in that one. And you can imagine if you can double that and then double it again and then double it again, man, that would have such a powerful impact. And if you start looking at them as becoming raving fans, we can then start building on what we learn from working with those groups to actually start reaching people overseas. And as I look every day and I watch this rand, and early next week they say we could be hitting 20 rand to the dollar. Well, the trick is I'd like to get as many dollars in if coming in at 20 rand, and we can start putting them into the chamber bank. So that scrolls back to me in terms of my personal objective and purpose. And I love the word intention because you can see I've got a clear intention here. To me, this is just not about social interaction. This is about how does social interaction turn into viable businesses online, where if we are isolated like this, we're actually building a completely new style of business from our home bases. And we can all do that together. And if we talk in those numbers, we can actually share in a collective program like that. So let me leave it at that. Selo, that's what I'd love you to be thinking about from Durban, and we interact on that basis. And anyone else who wants to interact, how we share those opportunities.
If I could just, I think the for me it comes back to the word value, and I've used that word value before. Is if this and maybe, sorry, I just need to, because what we're doing in this session is we're not diving into a conversation, right? We're almost stepping back.
Lee, I think we've lost you there for a second. These videos seems to have frozen and sounded.
What is it that you are receiving, that you are benefiting from, that keeps bringing you back, that keeps inviting you into the space to say, okay, half an hour every day I am engaging here. What is it that you're getting that we can keep improving and growing to be able to connect with more and more people?
Thanks. Yeah, I think some of the thoughts that come to my mind, and I think the three words that have been added in, the intention, purpose, and objective, I think are great, because I think it's certainly something all of us should be wrapping our minds around. Can we turn this into something that starts to add value, not only to ourselves, but to other people? And how do we materialize that value, and how do we get it out to more people, and develop something that not only has intrinsic personal value, but actually translates into material value at some point in time, and hopefully relatively soon. And I think for me that's the intent and purpose. And I see Cecile is going gardening, so maybe that's her intent and purpose, to go and pull out the weeds while the grass is wet. So, but yeah, Ian, you wanted to pick up there.
Yeah, there's two aspects. I mean, picking up what Lee's saying, and also what Trevor, I hear what Trevor's trying to do in the long term, and how he wants to build it. But I think picking up what Lee's saying, I think the intention and the objective that people are getting out of this half an hour at the moment is they're looking at things, they're reflecting on things, they're picking up things, and individually we're making some changes from those words that are on the screen. We realize whether it's ego or whatever it is, we say, well, we have to work on that, and we've got a perfect time to do that. So that we change the mindset that we've had on our sort of traditional Friday morning meetings, where it's sort of there to take. And I think you're right, Lee, it's almost going back to grassroots. It's almost going back to basics, to say that every single one of us needs to change certain aspects, whether it's a perception, perspective, whatever it happens to be, judgmental, ego. And through that process, we get to a point of clarity where we can say, right, well, how do we now consolidate this to achieve the objectives that Trevor's mentioned? But I think first, there's a lot of, as I say, people sort of looking at things in their own perspective and their own businesses, to say, well, actually, how can we work collectively to achieve an objective, and working through those individualistic processes that allows us to get to the collective, if that makes sense.
Right, thanks, Ian. Lee, I don't know if you want to pick up on that, or if anybody else wants to comment. I'm just looking to run outside and start building an ark quickly. I think the rain's coming down so hard here. I think we're going to be swimming very shortly, and so you might have had your swim this morning, but I think you might be doing it again. But yeah, Guy, you want to pick up there?
I just quickly, tell me if I'm right or wrong, but when Lee and you guys set up these meetings on a Monday, I got the impression the purpose then and the objective was people, a handful of people, and obviously that's changing, would come together and freewheel and discuss issues relative to C19 and the new way of doing things on Zoom, etc. And it would just freewheel, etc. It's obviously getting more specific now and more channeled per individual, and maybe this could be or couldn't be the platform for it. But you, the guys who initiated it and are driving it, you know, we are guests. So that's why I'm filtering. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Guy. Yeah, Stella, you want to pick up there? Yeah?
Yes, can I just come in there? Herman just wrote something very nice there. He wrote awareness, and I want to pick up from that point. So for me, in order to, because Guy is very right, we shouldn't really cloud the platform as well. If the platform is playing a crucial role at us as personal development workers, just tapping and checking in on each other, then that's what the platform should play. But I see with awareness, with what Herman is saying with awareness, first things first, we still need to get to know each other. Or maybe I'm just speaking about myself rather specifically here. So let me at least speak about how do we then follow each other on social media? How do I then pick up on what Lee is doing outside of these conversations? So that I start to revamp some of the work that she's doing and start to introduce her to some of my community and some of the people that I'm speaking to, and vice versa. So that's what I'm kind of largely talking about, because when you filter in this and you bring in awareness, we still want to remain a personal development kind of a platform so that we do assist each other, because the pouring must come from somewhere. I also need to come to a group where I can say, okay, here I am not Mr. Buthelezi who does this and that. I'm not somebody's coach, but here I can just be myself and just lay an opinion as I feel it. You know, the platform, it works for what it is, but I'm just talking about now getting to know one another. And I will do, I know I'm talking to myself, so I will do my bidding work to find out more about you guys, follow you guys, especially on LinkedIn. I mean, I want to see, I saw Guy a little bit on LinkedIn, so I want to start, that's what I was talking about when I'm saying, let's make it practical, but that means getting to know each other first. Let's take each other on a date, then we'll get married properly. Let's not rush things. We don't have to rush things.
Right, thanks. Hello, Herman, you wanted to pick up there?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually contradict Guy. He said we are guests here. I don't see myself as a guest. I see myself as a participant. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Herman, and thanks, Stella, for those comments. We are at the bottom of the hour, so I think
I didn't pass English at school, so excuse my grammar or whatever. But good point. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thanks, Lee. You want to pick up there, and then we can go to Trevor, and I think then we start to wrap up.
Yeah, just to say, it's good just to, the purpose of today was really just that stepping back and reflecting on, so what are we doing here? And it's interesting just to hear different perspectives, and that we do maybe all have a slightly different angle on what it is that we're wanting, which comes back to this vested interest that we all didn't want to accept from Trevor yesterday. But for me, half an hour is about connecting with as many different people. And yes, Herman, you're absolutely right. This isn't about wisdoms being some kind of, being the gurus or leading in any way. We're simply hosting, we're simply accommodating and creating an opportunity for us. It's about if there can be many people that all are contributing an idea here, a thought there, that we're expanding our collective intelligence. And then, yes, there can be somebody that pulls away here and says, oh, I really connect with this person. Maybe there's some business interests here that we can take up. And so, but it's organic. It's not something that we are structuring or enabling, being some kind of mastermind orchestrating of those things. And that's why the numbers are great, because we're wanting to ensure that as many people as possible are able to engage, and also because of who Wisdoms is. Wisdoms is about personal and business success. It's about a university for life, and that is about constantly allowing people an opportunity to learn and grow, no matter where you are, how you are. And one of the key ways that we do that is we stimulate a thinking, whether that's an image, whether that's a quote, and through that process, you are mulling over in this amazing brain of ours. And then we will, the challenge is, what do we do about that? What do we do about that? So that's my role. That's how I always see myself, is how can I make this conversation really connect with where individuals are in their lives, and then make a difference for what they're doing now, and therefore impact society. So, our byline is that we are creating a tribe. We're building a tribe of passionate people who want to make a positive difference in society. So that's my bottom line. Tomorrow we'll pick up a conversation again, and we'll go deeper with it. And I look forward to that.
Thanks, Lee. Trev, you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I wrote the words unique and collective in the chat facility, because as a group, each of us are unique. But then when you take the collective, we're completely unique. No one else can actually duplicate what we've just done over the last 30 minutes. And then if we start thinking about adding another 10 and another 10 and another 10 and another 10, you've got this huge collective uniqueness that we're able to take across to the rest of the world. So I'd love you to focus on those two words: what we're doing, why is it unique, and as we grow the collective, do we enhance the uniqueness of what the end product is that we're doing? And if I can then add to that, yesterday on the chamber side, just by little default, we said, hey everybody, we don't have enough time to talk here. Put your details in the chat facility on the right hand side. And what we ended up with, the end of that at 90 minutes, was the most amazing amount of information. And I think we discovered how to actually work with the chat facility for business networking that I haven't seen anyone else do. But again, I'm new to this Zoom facility, but I'm excited about what we discovered in using the chat while we're actually talking online at the same time.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Herman, you wanting to just...
Yeah, I just would like to add something. I like that building a tribe kind of expression, but shouldn't we have an expanded forum in I don't know, in a kind of a group where we would reflect on certain things that crop up during the day and just throw it in? Whether it would be a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group, that's up to the expert to decide. And so that we have a follow-up kind of pattern during the day. And Trevor, I'm sure the numbers are possible. As you know, I'm part of a forum that gets 300-400 people into Zoom chats internationally. We are from all over the world, meeting a couple of times a month on various subjects. So it is possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Herman, and I think you raised some excellent points there. And just to let you know that we do have a Facebook page. It's Wisdoms 123 on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and go to Wisdoms 123, you can like the page and we can communicate there. There's also on LinkedIn. There's also a Wisdoms 123 page on LinkedIn as well. But what I can do is I can get those details out to everybody. But you can find us in both of those platforms, and we can definitely engage, on an ongoing basis. And Herman, you're absolutely free to extend the invite to any of your associates and other groups to join us. We'd welcome that participation. So it's certainly not a closed environment by any means, and that goes for everybody. Please extend the invitation, send the email on that you get at the end of every chat, and invite people to join us. So it can only get better if we do that. Cecile, any final words from you?
No, it's fine. I think I will do our 10 o'clock church service tomorrow, and I'll keep this 8 o'clock thing. I have suffered from FOMO, and I'm scared that you're going to talk about things that I won't hear.
Excellent, great, thanks. Fellow, any final words from your side?
Thanks for the chat, guys. It's been a very special one because a time to reflect is always important, you know, just to take stock. It's a part of listening. Thanks for the chat. I look forward to tomorrow.
Great, thanks everybody. Yeah, great chat again. And yes, see you at 8 o'clock.